Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent Podcast. I'm Jason Abrams, and this is the place where we lift the curtain on the world of real estate like never before. Every week, I sit down with visionaries, pirates, and mavericks. We're here to document, demonstrate, and most importantly, demystify their game-changing models and systems. What secrets propel them to the top? And how are they living their dreams? This is about passion, it's about strategy, but above all, it's about real, tangible success. So buckle up and let's dive in. This is the Millionaire Real Estate Agent Podcast. It's party time, MREA style, friends. I love saying that. I'm excited to say it. We are about to do what I think might just be one of the greatest episodes we've ever done. I know I always say that. This show is going to be unbelievable. We are going to be joined today by a world-renowned author. He wrote the book, The 7 Levels of Communication. It is active and available in every English-speaking country, but here's what's cool. He is a real estate agent before he ever picked up the pen and wrote the story. Friends, his team does over 200 transactions every single year, and the only thing they do, they absolutely crush events. I am speaking about none other than Michael Maher. He is Jedi when it comes to creating experiences, and he is going to tell us exactly how to have the most powerful events in the real estate industry. Spoiler alert, I think he does. Sit back and buckle up. This is Michael Maher. Today, I am joined by best-selling author Michael Maher. Michael, how are you, sir?
Doing awesome, sir. How are you today?
I am fantastic. I ask everybody, I'm kind of torn, if I'm honest, because I ask everybody the same question. How did you end up in the greatest industry in the world? With you, I want to ask, but I also want to know how you wrote a book that's written in every English-speaking country, because it's astounding. But let's start with real estate. How did you end up in the real estate business?
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting story. As I was teaching, I was actually a math teacher and coach.
Wait a second. I'm not a math teacher?
Yeah, I don't lead with that very often, buddy. I don't lead with that.
You're the one real estate agent that can do math.
Well, and even teach it a little bit. But I have to tell you, if you can teach high schoolers math, you can sell anything. That's the truth. Because, they're like, we're not using this in the real world. And it's like, yeah, you're right. And yet you are. So, yeah. So after my second year, I decided that my wife and I, Sherry, were going to get our first home. And we bought a new home. We went through the models and we continued to talk to the agents in the model home. And they kept saying, you got to get in real estate. You should totally get into real estate. I think they said that to everybody, but I went for it. And I'd always wanted to invest in real estate. So I thought, well, I need to get my real estate license to learn more about investing in real estate. But you and I both know I went to a class to basically learn how to pass the test to get into real estate. I ended up passing the test, and I honestly wasn't going to do too much with it, but I also had summers off as a teacher. So we rolled right into the summer, and I just thought, well, I might as well do something with this. So I started talking to people. I did the same things that a lot of us are taught to do, which was I door knocked, which interestingly enough, the 5th door I knocked, Jason, was one of the top agents in town.
It's the best.
She lit me up. Do not come back to this neighborhood. Don't quit doing what you're doing. She basically lit me up and she taught me a lesson. And I just want you to know, like my entire career in Kansas City with real estate, I didn't sell very many homes in that neighborhood. I think I was just scared from the initial fright. So I just was kind of going and doing that. And then I also played semi-pro softball at the same time. And one of my teammates basically took one for the team. His name is Davey. And Davey decided that, you know what, I don't want to hear about it all summer if I don't use Maher as my realtor. So he was basically, all right, we're looking, we'll work with you. And that's kind of how it got started. I literally just kind of got started easily and slowly and thought I was going to be a teacher and coach forever.
So at some point you end up reading MREA.
Mm-hmm.
What insight do you have from that? What did that book do for you or mean for you?
Well, it triggered a lot, especially with the Mets versus the not Mets. And it was really one of those where I kind of was thinking like, well, even from my interaction, I noticed that if you haven't talked to somebody for 6 months, they're basically like a not Met. So you've really got to communicate and be on top of people quite a bit.
Well, let's walk us through this because this is the People's Podcast, man. So every time we air, we pick up new listeners across all different real estate companies. When we say MREA, we're talking about the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. That was written by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan and Dave Jenks, may he rest in peace. And in that book, they lay out this concept of Mets and not Mets. Michael, how did you interpret that? What does it mean?
Yeah, so Mets are essentially anybody you've ever met, and the outside group was everybody that you have not met. Sounds pretty basic, but what was interesting about it was that if after a certain amount of time, especially with clients and past clients, if you hadn't spoken to them, you might as well call them a not met. Or they could even be worse than a not met because of the communication line being broken. So I'm like, I got to develop a system where I am in constant communication with everyone. And if you kind of boil my success down to a couple of words, it would be networking and metworking. Networking was because I didn't have a sphere. I didn't have a lot of people who knew me. And those that knew me as a softball player or a teacher. And it wasn't super respectful. It was just kind of like a teacher and a coach and a guy who had his summers off to play softball, honestly. I mean, let's be real.
Which sounds awesome, by the way. Let me just say that. What I wouldn't do for a summer off to play softball, forget about it, my friend.
It was awesome. I got to travel all across the United States and play and was, paid to do it and didn't have to pay to do it. So it was awesome. So what was interesting is with the networking, what I discovered is that when I would go to a networking event, they didn't see me with my teacher hat on. They saw me with my realtor badge on, and they saw me with my realtor hat on. So their perception didn't have to be changed, like my family's did, like my network that I already had did. By networking, they saw me with a realtor hat on. And I got lucky with Davey and Vanessa. And quickly with Davey and Vanessa. Davey was a teammate. And I remember showing homes, Jason, with Davey and Vanessa, praying they would not make an offer. Think about that. Like in real estate, you get paid for closings. I'm literally talking them out of houses when we're showing houses because I didn't know how to write a contract. I didn't know what was next. I didn't go through KW. I didn't start at KW. And so I had been to a couple of team meetings on, business meetings, but I didn't know what was next. So I was scared, like, oh God, I'm about to be exposed as a fraud if they want to write an offer. But I remember talking them out of these homes. And then the third weekend when he went out, we went through a new home subdivision in a brand new school district, just outstanding. All the characteristics were outstanding. And we went through the model home garage, and there was two ladies there, and we're just like, yeah, do you want to go through the homes? And we're saying yes. We got through the third model. The first two, they were like, ooh. The third one, we've all seen it. It's done. The gleam in the eye is there. They're measuring for furniture. They've literally moved in mentally. We went through the fourth model, did not have the same buzz, but the third model was it. We're walking back down the sidewalk and they're like skipping, like literally skipping. I am behind them sweating because I know the gig is up. The gig is up. We go in through the garage door and the lady there does what she should. She goes, well, what'd you guys think? Vanessa goes, we loved number 3, all negotiating power right out the window. And right then I was just like, it is up, Michael Maher. So the lady behind the desk goes, well, do you want me to write it up? And I go, yes, I do. I want you to write that up and you're going to make sure everything is perfect because I'm going to read every line. And I was definitely going to do that. And I just said at the last second, just make sure that we have the right to do inspections, make sure that's in there. Well, it was a 60-day spec. It was almost finished. And, 45 days later, we had the inspections. God bless America. They found something. It was kind of a big deal. The builder fixed it with no problem. I look like a dang hero just for getting that one inspection in. And then we closed a couple of weeks later. And then, Jason, here's the thing. I'm a softball player. For those that don't know what that means, it's code word for get together with your buddies and drink beer. That's what that really is, right? Well, Davey was a buddy from softball. So my next reaction is party at his house. So I had a housewarming party about 45 days after they moved in. And listen, I still think back fondly of that very first housewarming party because the switch clicked for me. It was celebratory, congratulatory. Everybody was so happy. They were happy for Davey and Vanessa. But you know what, Jason? They were also really happy for me. They were like, Michael, great job with this. Maher, you rocked it on this one, great job. And there were 38 people at that housewarming party, and I got 11 referrals at the very first housewarming party. 11 referrals from, other softball players. Davey's parents were there, Vanessa's parents were there. I ended up selling their homes in the next year and a half from that party, and 11 referrals from the very first housewarming party.
So when you say there's networking, which is I meet somebody and they know I'm a realtor from the beginning, and now there's networking. The party, the event is the networking.
It kind of is, right? And I see it as there's 3 types of events.
Hang on, because everyone now listening to you now knows what time it is. Friends, we are about to go into a model that is going to change your business. Now, I'm taking all the notes. You don't have to. The notes come out every single Thursday via email. If you don't get them or you're new to the broadcast, head over to MREAnotes.com. That's MREAnotes.com. You will get the PDF, my promise to you. Michael, tell me exactly how to have the most powerful events in the real estate industry.
Yeah, I love that. I appreciate that. And I'm on fire for this right now. There's 3 types of events. There's the I event, the we event, and the they event. And the I event is something we try to avoid. But if you've ever bought drinks for a bar, you've done an I event. You're paying for all of them. Everybody's thanking you, high-fiving you. And a lot of agents try to have I events when they have their events. And I will tie this to networking here in a second. But the I events, we try to avoid those. I try to avoid teaching people from the who is not you is what I keep telling people. The greeter at the event is not you. The planner of the event is not you. The who is not you. Just remember the who is not you. We need people to help us, and we've got people in our sphere that literally would love to help us throw an event. So then we have the we events. A we event is me and sponsor partners, or me and my team and volunteers and sponsor partners. Like it's a we event, like it's our event versus my event. And the best events are we events. We events are also, we have control. So I have control over the invite list. I have control of the venue. And this is maybe the most important thing. I have control of the experience. I am a huge believer. If you had to sum up my philosophy is I am someone who creates experiences. I create the ultimate buyer experience. I create the ultimate seller experience. And I create the ultimate attendee experience or guest experience at my events. That's what I always am looking to do. So the we events are the ones that I teach the most and I really believe in the most. And then you have the they events. They events are really like the housewarming party. Even though we're kind of helping, the event is really Davey and Vanessa's event. It's their event. It's not for us to sell at. It's not for us to market at. It's for us to celebrate Davey and Vanessa. Well, there's a lot of they events. A networking event is a they event. They're hosting, you're going to it as a guest, you're visiting they events. You're hosting we events. And the important discernment here is that networking are the they events and networking are the we events. And my strategy, if you summed it all up, how did I go from 0 to 187 transactions in 3 years, right? And over 200 for the rest of my career. It was essentially going to they events with the intent on inviting them to my we events. And I would host 3 we events a year. And any they event, any networking I went to, my job is, all right, I've met them. Now I want to do networking, which was so much more powerful than one-to-ones, phone calls, pop-bys or anything else, because they got to talk to each other. With events, you get this really powerful synergy of like plus like equals 2 loves. Someone who likes you meets someone who likes you. Well, what's the first thing they're going to talk about? It's you. They're going to tell you, how do you know Michael? Well, they talk and, oh, Michael's great. Michael's great. And what happens is social proof kicks in. And when they separate after that conversation, they both love you. And also they're more emboldened and more empowered to go out and speak highly of you and refer you because they met each other. And that can only happen at events. So you would get that real synergistic and powerful combination with the we events. So it was really visit they events. And the they events, we need to make sure that people know is that that's any social circle that you have. So if you're a part of the PTA, that's a they event. If you are a Boy Scout leader or troop leader, that's a they event. If you're part of a club, mom's club, whatever it may be, then that's a they event. And Jason, the thing about real estate is that when we're at a they event, how do we market? We're always, I don't want to be that ultra direct person who is pushing real estate in a non-real estate environment. So how do we get to them? How do we get business from these other social circles? I believe the answer is that we invite them to our event. And then when they're in our house, so to speak, then we create this experience for them and they're won over. They're won over not by me, but by the experience and by meeting other people who are speaking highly of me.
This makes all the sense in the world to me, by the way. And what I love is that you're speaking to the agent who is not solicitous. Someone who doesn't want to walk around, meet strangers at random and say, hey, do you know anyone who wants to buy and sell? This feels far more organic. So I got 2 questions up to this point, Michael, and then I'm going to let you keep going. When I go to a they event, which my big aha right now is that they're happening all around me 24 hours a day. Do I have that right?
The opportunity is endless. Yes.
You tell me my goal there is to go to a they event and then ultimately earn the right to invite them to a we event. How do I do that?
I'm so glad you asked because it's a 3-step process. And what we want to do is we want to initiate the introduction first. So I have, it's in 7 levels of communication and most of these strategies are. I wish I would have maybe gone into more length on events in 7L, but maybe that's the next book. So the thing is initiate the introduction is there's 7 steps to connecting with connectors, 7 steps. So if I'm going to a they event, I'm a huge introvert. I'm not going in to meet 200 people.
Get out of here. Wait a second. Are you really introverted? Because
huge.
You and I are good friends, and I find I'm fascinated when I listen to you. I never would have guessed that.
Yeah, I am a huge introvert. I much rather get energy. I get energy by retreating instead of getting energy through people. And so I developed all of these systems to honestly cover up my own huge fear of rejection and to not socialize with too many people, which sounds crazy. He's talking about events and he's an introvert. But I have to say, if you're an introvert, you have to do events. You have to, because you're not going to socialize enough to maybe have enough conversations either that you create or that others have about you. And the thing is the magic that I kind of caught on to was that, man, it was great getting my extroverts together because they did all the talking to each other. I'm literally, Jason, I was standing at a Royals event, 2,000 people of my people, and I wasn't talking to a soul. And they were all so happy. And I was too, because I think sometimes the best place for an introvert to hide is a really busy event, because they're all
so good,
they're all talking to each other. And that's the thing is it eventually became where I didn't have to talk about myself at all. The army of ambassadors that I've created through these events are talking for me.
Walk me through this then, because I want to stay linear. So I'm at a they event. The first thing I got to do is initiate the introduction. What does that mean?
All right. So step 1, this is the step that a lot of people forget, is I'm going in with the spirit of helpfulness. Step 1 is I'm not going to a networking event with the idea of taking or getting business, which is so counterintuitive. And I believe that it's just not taught enough. I'm going into this group to help. I'm just going there to see what I can do to help. And if I happen to get business, great. And what I've also discovered is if you go in with the spirit of helpfulness, in a lot of cases, you're going to get business from it. So step 2 is call the membership chair or the person who is in charge, the person, PIC, person in charge of the event. You're going to call them and you're going to say, tell me more about your group. Tell me more about this event. And then here's a magic question. So who's going to be there that you think I should meet? Like, who's somebody that really represents your group well? And they're always going to tell you because they want you to join that group. So it's like they give you a name. Let's call him David, right? All right, great. Tell me a little bit about David. Oh, wow, he sounds awesome. This sounds like a great group already. Well, let's say David's not there. Who are a couple others that I could meet if David's not there? Oh, Cindy and Denise. Okay, so Cindy and Denise, tell me a little about, oh, okay. All right, so just in case those three aren't there, give me a couple more that I can really go for, right? And it's like Jason and Cody, right? And now I am going to go Google those 5, what I consider connectors. She's obviously the membership chair. In this case, I'm thinking of a gal named Dana, right? And she's obviously going to tell us people who are connectors and well represented and probably influential. And so she's literally, out of 200 attendees, told me the 5 people I need to meet.
That is brilliant. And I've never heard that.
Wow. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And here's the thing. It was, what is it? Mother is the invention. Is that, what is it? Mother is the invention.
Necessity.
All necessity, right? So I had to do it because I wasn't going to meet all 200 people. So it's like, how do I cut to the chase? I have a D component as well as an I and a C component on my disc. So it's like, I want to make the most amount of money, deliver the most amount of value in the shortest amount of time so that I can get the referrals in the shortest amount of time, right? And so then I'm going to Google those 5 to 6 people. I'm going to go and I'm going to be 15 to 20 minutes early. I'm going to find the person that's in charge, and let's call her Dana because that's who I have in mind. And I'm going to go to Dana and I'm just going to, hey, I'm Michael, and I'm going to be dressed like $1 million. I'm going to represent. And it's like, hey, Dana, I just want to let you know I'm Michael. I called you. And here's the thing. I know you're still getting set up. How can I help? Where can I help? Can I set something up? Can I go put chairs out? Can I move the tables? You know, whatever you need. It's like, oh, great, thanks. Can you actually help hang that banner, right? So go hang a banner. She also now knows who I am, right? All right, the event gets going. They do their announcements. Then it's open networking. Well, then I see one of the 5 connectors. I don't go to the connector, which is super counterintuitive. I'm not going to go direct. And first of all, that can really get awkward, especially if you know like the kids stuff and you really did a good job on Facebook and Google and you know a lot about them. It could just be a little weird. No, I'm going to go to Dana and I'm going to go, Dana, I just saw that Cody's here. Can you do me a favor and introduce me to Cody? So Dana walks me over to Cody. Sometimes Cody's talking to somebody else already and they'll interrupt. I didn't interrupt, but Dana's like, she's super powerful and she's a get things done person. So she goes, Cody, I just wanted you to meet Michael. And what's amazing about this is even early in my career, the person in charge would introduce me as like, this is a top real estate agent in town. This is a big dog in the real estate world. Literally. And I didn't deny it, right? It's like, well, thank you, you know, but my 3 transactions I've done is huge business. I understand that.
It's so good.
But because of my approach, she thought the only person who does this is somebody who, you know, is being successful. So I would meet with them, but I was looking to only have a frog conversation, right? So we're on step 4 and 5 of the 7 steps to connecting with connectors. And so I would, you know, have a frog conversation and I wanted to keep it short.
Wait, well, you can't say I'm having a frog conversation and then not at least tell us in a sentence what that means.
Yeah, it's my twist on Ford or form, 2, you know, acronyms that have been around forever.
What does FROG stand for? What's that?
Yeah, family.
Okay.
Recreation.
Okay.
Occupation.
Okay.
And then goals. And the goals are the different part. But for me, it was hugely important to have the word goals. And I wanted to go in that order. So it's a little different order than the other acronyms. And I also had the opportunity to imagine a frog on their head, which always made me kind of smile, right? So, all right, now it's time for the frog conversation.
Why is it so important to have goals in there?
Yeah. So notice we've talked about family a little bit. Are you from here? You know, family do things. Recreation. What do you do when you're not doing what you do? And then occupation, which is why we get to the point pretty quickly. And they tell me about how they got in, what they did. And then I want to say, after those 3, I go, what are your goals? Now, notice we've talked about family, recreation, and occupation. The goal they're going to tell me about is going to be one of those three things. And sometimes they give me a golf goal. Sometimes they give me a family travel goal. Sometimes they give me a sales goal or a business goal. Well, I instantly know which is more important out of FOR because of the goal that they've shared with me. And listen, the powerful thing in life is giving massive value first, like generosity, right? I founded the generosity generation. I believe in it wholeheartedly. I believe, a generous one shall be a prosperous one, like it says in Proverbs 11:25. So giving massive value first, but you can't give massive value first without knowing what they value. Like, how do you give value without knowing? And the three things we can help with is conquering a challenge, helping them achieve a dream, or helping them achieve a goal. So when they tell me their goal, I have a power that I didn't have before. I have a power to help them achieve a goal. If I do that, then we're going to build this great reciprocal relationship. So what are your goals? They tell me their goals. And Jason, this is a powerful kind of next series here that sometimes people get left out. They just think it's chit chat and small talk. But then they tell about their goals and let them talk as long as they need to about it. And then I'm going to stop and I go, hey, you probably feel like this is 20 questions. I've asked you a lot of questions, but I'm genuinely curious. But let me ask you, do you have any questions for me? Now, what was the last question that I asked them?
What their goals were.
So guess what? If we believe in question reciprocity, which is people tend to, at 80% likelihood, ask the last question to you that you ask them. So what question are they going to ask me?
What are your goals?
What are your goals? So we need to be ready to answer that. And by the way, wouldn't it be great if we could set up a conversation where somebody else asked us what our goals were? And this doesn't. Now, we're not manipulating. If it doesn't go there, it doesn't go there. But it goes there quite often. So let's massage it. Let's let it happen. So then they say, what are your goals? And I go, my weekly referral goal is to give 10 referrals and receive 5 referrals. And that is my answer to that question every single time. What are your goals? And I will either answer with referrals and they'll laugh or whatever it is. And then I'll go, but my weekly referral goal is to give 10 referrals and receive 5 referrals. And then we have a conversation about that, or we don't. But here's what that always leads to. It sounds like we should meet. It sounds like we should have a one-to-one. My goal for this interaction, out of the 5 people, if I like them and it seems like there's chemistry there, then my goal is to take 5 or 4 of those and put them into one-to-one. I want to put them into a one-to-one, right? So that's my strategy with every day event, because eventually I'm going to take, let's say all 5 of them agree to a one-to-one. I'm going to have a more thorough and deeper one-to-one with them. And then that kicks in, like, interview the interesting is step 2 of the 3 steps, right, that we talked about, or initiate the introduction. And then we want to interview the interesting. And that's what I'm doing that they don't know, is I'm interviewing them. When we're setting one-to-one, I'm interviewing them to see if they're going to be a fit for my referral network. And if they are, it goes into step 3, which is invite them to my event.
Wow. By the way, I'm listening to this and I'm putting myself in the place of the person you're meeting. This would feel wildly organic and like a natural way to create a powerful friendship.
Yeah. Well, I hope so. I mean, and it's all based on love, generosity, and appreciation. So, I mean, I'm not manipulating. I just have a system for attraction. I have a system for moving them closer to me. And now here's the thing. I've also interviewed the interesting and found out that I don't want them to be a part of my network.
They're not that interesting.
Well, yes. And they're a taker. They're super aggressive. And that doesn't fit with my community. My community is built on generosity, love, and appreciation. So, and I've made that mistake early in my career. My second housewarming party I actually had with a lender who was super aggressive at the party. And it kind of ruined a little, not totally, but it actually gave it a 9 out of 10 feel instead of a 10 out of 10 feel.
That's actually a great segue, because I understand now how I'm going to meet people. I love how purposeful it is, by the way. I have a plan now when I'm going to the day event, and I'm going to get to my one-on-one, and I'm going to invite them then to a we event. How do I start to think about creating this experience?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is don't do it in 2 or 3 weeks. A lot of people hear I should do events for my business, and they throw one together. You really need a sweet spot of 7 to 8 weeks for an event. If you tell someone 2 months before an event, they're probably not even going to put it on the calendar. But it seems like if it's next month, if it's 7 or 8 weeks, then they're definitely going to feel urgent about it. So 7 to 8 weeks seems to be the hot spot. The first thing you need to do is plan. And in fact, I wasn't a great planner early either, but I've learned the power of planning over time. And, MREA helps a ton with that. It helps you be proactive and look at the bigger picture in general. So planning, failing to plan is planning to fail, as one of my mentors said, Zig Ziglar, all the time. So having a week of planning and going through the 5 sequences of what I call event mastery. The first sequence is planning sequence. And guess what? We need a planning sequence. Let's talk about who, what, where, when, how much, how many people, and that kind of thing. And then we're going to do the second sequence, which is the invitation sequence. So we're going to begin inviting people and getting people to come. And we need to realize that throughout all of these events, it's not the attendees. It's the power is in the invitation. We say the success is in the planning, and we say that the power is in the invitation because it is. The number one touch, in my opinion, the number one touch to your database, you want to mix the best of the 33 touch or 36 touch and the best of the 8x8 touch. Guess what? I believe it's events. We're going to do 8 touches in 8 weeks to invite them in different ways. And in many cases, it leads to things that are as powerful as all 36 touches, right? And how are we going to do 36 touches? We're going to do 3 events a year, right? So the thing about it is the power is in the invitation, and the invitation is the best touch because by definition, it's attractive. Invitar means in vitals, which is in my heart or in my life, vital signs, right? Invite into my life. So we want to invite them. They're not all going to attend, and we don't want them all to attend. The power is in the invitation. We just had a guy do National Donut Day, 5,000 invitations, 5 different ways, text message, phone call, email, Facebook message. And he had it at 5 different spots. And he said, come down for National Donut Day. Well, out of 5,000, 25,000 touches, 5,000 people, how many do you think came down for a free dozen donuts? And here's what's really cool about National Donut Day. If you buy a dozen, you get a dozen. So he's promising a dozen, but the donut shops are already giving an extra dozen. So when they come down, they get double the donuts, right? So it's a win-win-win. So out of 5,000 people, Jason, just take a wild guess, right? Not to put you on the spot, but how many?
700, 1,000.
Right, 700, 1,000. And he was ready for that. 12 people. Literally, you can't script it. You can't script it. It's a dozen. A dozen people showed up at 5 different locations to take him up on that offer. It cost him $100.
Was he crushed emotionally, or did he feel like he won?
He won. Now, at first, he was like, well, Maher, only 12. And I go, isn't that great? How much did it cost you? And he's like $150 or something like that. I go, well, you paid too much. We need to talk about that. But here's the other thing. He also had several sponsors who were chipping in, and their logos were all over the invitations and everything else. And I go, all right, but where's the rubber meet the road? How many referrals? Well, I got 22 referrals from people RSVPing.
When you do the math, that might be the best ROI ever. By the way, Michael, if you tell any of your clients, I'm coming to a donut giveaway. Yeah. I just want to be very clear. I'm coming.
I'm with you. I'm right there with you.
I never thought of it that way, man. So when you say 8 different touches over 8 weeks, different ways, any secrets to that? Any hacks? It sounds like I'm doing a call, I'm doing a text. What's the cool thing?
Yeah, multimodal, right? In 7 levels of communication, I go through the 7 levels of different type of communication. Listen, if you call 8 weeks in a row, you're going to be annoying. But if you email, soft, no picture, just an email. Hey, I just wanted to let you know, save the date. We got an event coming. Then you send a bigger email. Then you do maybe a video and you send that. Then you text them and say, do you have a couple minutes? Or are you getting my invitations? And they're like, what invitations? Then you call them. And here's the thing about that is if you called and called and called, you'd be annoying. But if by emailing, email a little more, email video, and then you call, what they think instead is, man, they really want me to come to this event. So it's more thorough. It's more professional. And then you do another series of, email video, and then a text message, and then a phone call. And there's your 8 touches right there. And it doesn't cost you a dime, by the way. And you're doing a multimodal approach, so it doesn't come off as so aggressive or direct.
Well, I'll tell you what's interesting to me. I'm thinking it through. And if I'm one of the 5,000 that got 8 of the 20,000 or 25,000 touches, in my mind, the event was successful whether I went or not. I'm just assuming that it happened. And if I have 12 people, I can make a social media post and make it look like the biggest event in the world.
That's right. Even if it's just you talking about how great it was and we missed you. And we're kind of talking about the sequences, right? And we've gotten to the planning sequence, invitation sequence. Well, a big one people forget is the confirmation sequence.
Is that step 3?
That is the third sequence, absolutely.
Okay, confirmation sequence. What does that mean?
Yeah, and I actually have to give credit. I hired a certified meeting professional when my housewarming parties were getting too big and I was getting too busy. And she was like, well, how many people are going? You're inviting 50, 60 people. And I'm like, well, we're getting 20 to 35 people, about 50%. And she goes, well, you're not confirming. Like, people are forgetting about it. People aren't going. It's not like they don't want to go. They've just forgotten. So we started doing a 24-hour and a 1-hour confirmation. And Jason, I'm not even kidding. We went from 90% attendance to over 100 attendance. We literally would have more people attend than actually registered at the event because of the confirmations. So that's the sequence, that invitation sequence and the confirmation sequence actually go kind of coincide. They actually go in parallel.
So if I'm going to do the confirmation sequence, then 24 hours prior to the event, what is that, like a text message? It says, can't wait to see you, here are all the event details?
That's it. And
then 1 hour before the event, what am I sending?
Text message. Text message
says
confirmation.
The same thing.
That's right.
Okay. What's the 4th sequence?
So the 4th sequence is the event sequence. So what happens at the event? What is their experience from the moment they get there? And we even talk about, think about the parking. Think about the walk. Do you need signage to get them to the registration table? Every event should have a registration table because it funnels and filters the energy of the event. So imagine a barbecue. You show up, they park, they walk from 10 different areas to come into the park. There's no energy there. But if they all have to go to a registration table, then you have funneled the energy and taken control of their experience. And that's why whenever you go to an event, there's a check-in desk or a registration desk, right? So, and at the registration, you're going to get them all a name badge. You're going to have them write their own name on it. That's a secret that sometimes people they want to do name badge. It's like, no, have them write their own name because then they'll never misspell it, or very rarely, their own name. And then also at that point, we're going to have door prizes displayed. They're going to fill out a door prize entry form so they can win the door prizes. And then they're escorted to the next phase. And if they, if you run it like I want people to run our events, we implement the golden ticket strategy. And I had to do this early on because there were some events where I just wasn't seeing everybody. I could love on 5 or 6, but I wasn't loving on 56. Well, if we have 56 people at the party, we're going to come, and let's say it's an ice cream event. Instead of them just going to get the ice cream, they have to come to me to get the golden ticket for the free ice cream. So they come to me, I love on them, not very long, introvert, right? Not very long. There's a line. So, they're not going to be rude to the people behind them. And honestly, all they want is the golden ticket. They don't want me. I know that.
You've become Willy Wonka in that moment.
100%. Or at the very least, I've attracted them to me. So they actually have to go through me to get what they really want. And so I give them the golden ticket and they go and give it to the cashier to get their free ice cream, right? And so I meet 56 people in about less than an hour. And then from there, it's mingling and doing whatever experience. 2-hour event, about an hour and a half in, we're going to do door prizes. And we give 5 or 6 great door prizes. I brag on the sponsors at that time. And I endorse the sponsors at that time. And then I say, hey, listen, we're going to be wrapping up in about 20 minutes. Have fun. We love you. We appreciate you. And remember, the reason we can do events like this is because of your referrals. Instead of me spending all this money on advertising and marketing, I'd rather spend it on you. How many of you would rather me spend my money on you than chasing strangers and spending it on advertising? And they're like, yes. And it's like, yes, me too. I appreciate you. Thanks for coming to our events. And remember, we've got another event coming up in about 6 weeks, and we'd love to have you attend. We hope you're there.
Genius. What's the fifth sequence?
Fifth sequence is maybe the most important, right? So we say the energy is in the event. And by the way, we say the attendance is in the confirmation. So I'll kind of go through the 4 so far. So we have the planning sequence. The success is in the planning. The invitation sequence, the power is in the invitation. The confirmation sequence, which is the attendance, is in the confirmation. You're going to double your attendance by confirming. And then the fourth one is the event sequence, and we say the energy is in the event. And that's the truth. You're going to spark an energy in your sphere of influence, in the people you know, by having an event. It just creates a lot of buzz, creates a lot of conversations. I truly believe it's the best talk about for your business because more people are going to talk about it and they're going to talk about you by you having an event. And then, boom, the follow-up sequence. And the fortune is in the follow-up, indeed. And so I teach all right, there's basically 7 groups we need to follow up with from this event. So make sure you're following up properly.
Okay, talk me through follow-up. What does that look like?
Yeah, so the first group of people we need to follow up, and I'm thinking concentric circles here. Who's the closest? And then we go to who's the farthest away. So the closest are your support staff and the people who had the event, helped you host the event. So thank your volunteers, thank your sponsors, thank your charity partner, thank those that are the closest circle to you. And then we have what I call the number one person. Who is the person other than you that contributed the most to the event's success? And then I say, drop a nuclear bomb of awesomeness on that person. Like give them a dream date, give them a great dinner, give them a spa day, like drop a nuclear bomb of awesomeness to say thank you to that person. And what's interesting to me is, Jason, I've taught event mastery for about 7 years now. And you would think like that person would be a team member or whatever it may be. But it's amazing to me that it's been everyone from a unpaid volunteer from the sphere to their director of operations, to a sponsor, to a charity partner, to literally somebody who wasn't even a part of that, but jumped in to help and made the event even more successful. So love that. So that's kind of the first group. And then your second group is the referrals. And, you're going to get a lot of referrals at an event because that's what we teach, documented referrals from events.
What does that look like? When you say documented referral from an event, because I've had events and I walk out, I've had a great time, I spent a bunch of money, I got nothing.
Yeah.
How do you get a referral?
Well, so there's 3 referral systems that I teach. So one is the RSVP ASAP system, which is the reason for an invitation is to get an RSVP. And some people don't even have people RSVP at their events. I think that's a huge mistake. We need to have them register, and it's for safety too. You really need to filter people anymore, unfortunately, but have them RSVP. And on the RSVP, you want to make sure you get their mobile, first of all, if you don't have it. I believe that the most important data is a person's first name and their mobile phone. From there, you can conquer the world or create a great relationship. Then you can also ask, what are the questions you'd love to ask the people in your sphere? Wouldn't you love to ask them for referrals, but you may not because you feel like it's going to be awkward?
Yes.
That was me, right? Huge fear of rejection. So guess what? I ask them on a form when they RSVP. So they RSVP, they put their name, their mobile, and then one of the questions might be, are you going to be doing anything real estate-wise in the next 6 months? And they say yes or no, and nobody cares what they say, right? I mean, it's like yes or no, and they write it in or whatever it may be. Then I truly believe maybe the biggest one is the door prize form, right? So they're going to fill out the door prize entry form. And this is an opportunity, once again, is on that form, it says out of all the people you know, who is the next person who will be buying, selling, or investing in real estate? Question. And then it has 3 blanks for them to put names. It also has blanks for our sponsor partners. So we're going to get referrals for our sponsor partners through this process as well. Not just their logo, not just an endorsement. They're actually going to get referrals from me during this event. And in some cases, they're going to get more than I am. And actually, that happens quite often. So then we need to follow up with the referrals that we get. And then also during the follow-up sequence, you're going to have a follow-up survey that goes out that also will allow you to get documented referrals. that's the thing. So follow up, we're going to make sure we connect the real estate referrals. That's the first thing. And then we're going to connect our sponsor referrals. Then you call the attendees, or if you got a lot of attendees, then you're going to just text them or email them a thank you, right? And then you have the people that were RSVP regrets or no-shows, and some people would call them disappointing. I love them because they didn't cost me anything and they got all of the interaction, right? So the RSVP regrets and the no-shows, I'm just going to say, hey, listen, we missed you. The key phrase is we missed you. And then, is everything okay? They say yes or no. And then we go, is it okay if we invite you to future events? And they say yes or no. And hopefully they say yes, and then they're still on the invite list. And then you've got all the people that you invited but didn't come. And for them, we want to kick in FOMO, the fear of missing out. So we're going to send our best photos, most happy, greatest, and we're just going to say, we missed you. Is it okay if we invite you to future events? And all we're doing with that is looking for a response, Jason. All we're looking for. And if it's yes or no, we don't care. All we're looking for in all of this is a response. Because it's like, if you give me a response, it's like you're saying I've got a chance. Like I'm going to win.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Exactly. It's a 1 in a million response. But baby, I'm gonna go down, and maybe I am dumb or dumber. Maybe I'm just the dumbest. But it is one of those where I'm going to be dumb enough that I'm going to, man, you gave me a response. I'm going to love on you and see what happens.
I'm always amazed because people always say, there's a 1 in a million chance. But when you have 8 billion people on the planet, 1 in a million chances happen hundreds of thousands of times a day.
Isn't that great? Isn't that great? Yeah.
I'm so energized listening to you because you're running a system and there is nothing left to chance. And you are maximizing your time on task.
Yes.
That's so refreshing for me. I know our listeners, I know this audience. And they want to know how they can get more of you and more of this in their head. Of course, they can buy the book, 7L, the 7 Levels of Communication. But you've kicked off a new community for people here at Keller Williams that want to hang out and talk about events and want to live the event life.
Yeah.
Why'd you do that?
Well, it made a lot of sense because KW has been built on training. And in my opinion, I think some of the best coaches in the world coach at MAPS Coaching, and it's the biggest, and I believe it's the best. And I don't want to be uber controversial about this, and I'm not saying this about any company, but we saw the productivity numbers in general for realtors go down. I saw it everywhere, 70 to 74% didn't even do a transaction. But you know what? It's hovered around 50% for years. But I think that a lot of people are discovering that they have trouble working from home. Working from home is maybe not all that it was, put up to be.
I think the opportunity of working from home is laundry.
Yeah, or the dog, or a million distractions, And that's what all the bigger companies are saying. Hey, it's time to go back to work.
So, Michael, how can they get this, man? Where do they go? Tell my people.
Yeah, so we've launched a couple of fast tracks. So we have Event Mastery and Networking Mastery is launching right after Mega Camp. So, it's networking and metworking. Networking is the networking mastery and the metworking is event mastery. So those are coming out and I'm very excited about that and looking forward to, the Referral Mastery Academy and KW Referral Masters as a community. And, if you want to be a referral master, we want to group together. But not only is it about getting referrals, it's also about building a community where we're exchanging referrals and learning better about agent-to-agent referrals. So it's consumer referrals, of course. That's the main crux. But we're also going to really, really maximize that opportunity for agent-to-agent referrals.
All right, well, I never do this, but I'm a fanboy of yours. I love what you're doing. How can the people reach you and get information about the programs?
Well, thank you. You can either email me at michael@kw.com or you can contact me at Referco, michael@referco.com. You can always check us out at the MAPS Coaching Fast Track website, and those are actually probably the best ways. Also, we do have a referral network on Facebook that we'd love to have you. It's joingengen.com. If you like what you heard from me, if you want to build your business on love, generosity, and appreciation in a strategic and tactical and practical way, then join the generosity generation. Joingengen.com, joingengen.com, and it's our global referral network.
Now, this generation, I just want to remind everybody, I am a millennial. Michael, I just felt like a natural place to drop that. My friend, I love you. I love what you're doing for the industry. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, thank you for what you're doing for the industry with this. This is one of my favorite podcasts, and I'm not just saying that. I've always enjoyed it from the very first. The way you keep it linear, the way that you make it a system, no matter, like, I love what you're doing with the models and following up with the one-page models. This is above and beyond. This is one of the best. If you're a realtor, I don't care what company you're with, there's just a ton of value in every single episode that you do.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. Thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely.
Did you see why at the beginning I said it's one of my favorite episodes? It's unbelievable. It's an incredible show because it's so linear. This gentleman leaves nothing to chance. He has found a way to be so purposeful about the activity, from the way he goes to networking to the way that he then does networking. I think they're great terms, and I think they spell it out completely. I've been to 1 million events. Friends, believe it or not, your host, the People's Podcast host, the MREA host, gets invited to an awful lot of stuff. What I don't do is talk to the person throwing it, find out who the 5 or 6 people I should meet, Google them ahead of time, creepo, and then know all the things I need to know, and then get purposeful about interviewing them, finding out their goals. When he was talking about question reciprocity and that 80% of people will ask the last question that you did, my head was spinning. I think it's absolutely genius. He's left nothing to chance. He wakes up every day and says, I'm going to have 3 or 4 events a year. I'm going to have 8 touches before and after each one. And that's what my touch program is. Talk about brilliance. The simplicity of what he's running, the fact that there's nothing left to chance, and the fact that he can articulate every single step of the process is what makes Michael Maher Michael Maher. Go forth and do likewise. There it is. That wraps another episode. Friends, I don't know what you're taking out of this. I really don't. I'll tell you what I want you to be taking out of it, which is these are the people that are having tremendously big lives. And the reason it's happening is because they're setting up the models and systems to do just that. Gary Keller told me that leadership is teaching people how to think so that they do the things they need to do when they need to do them, so that ultimately they get the things they want when they want to have them. And that's what I want for you. You're all leaders, but it begins with leading ourselves. If you're enjoying this podcast, I want you to click the subscribe button anywhere that you get your podcasts. We want to be the voice in your head every single week, and every week we're dropping new content. We also send out a newsletter at the conclusion of every show to make sure that you get the highest points in the models and systems that were discussed. So if you want to sign up, I need your name and your email address. Head over to the millionaireagentpodcast.com. millionaireagentpodcast.com. Enter your name and your email address, and every week that newsletter will be in your box. Friends, you just went on a journey. I hope that what happens between now and the next time we meet is absolutely wonderful for you. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next week.
This podcast is for general informational purposes only. The views, thoughts, and opinions of the guest represent those of the guest and not Keller Williams Realty LLC and its affiliates, and should not be construed as financial, economic, legal, tax, or other advice. This podcast is provided without any warranty or guarantee of its accuracy, completeness, timeliness, or results from using the information. Warning: you must comply with the TCPA and any other federal, state, or local laws, including for B2B calls and texts. Never call or text a number on any do not call list, and do not use an auto dialer or artificial voice or pre-recorded messages without proper consent. Contact your attorney to ensure your compliance.